Next, we have multiplying polynomials, example 2 in lesson 3.2. We are going to distribute. We know this is foiling. Whenever you have a binomial times a binomial, you should be pretty familiar with that. You know what foiling is, where you do these two, then the outside, inside, and last. When you have this many terms, however, this looks like a binomial times a trinomial. We're going to end up with 6 different answers because we have to multiply. We have to multiply first, then next, then again. All right, so that 2m needs to multiply through all of those. And then the 5 needs to go to the 3m squared, and the 5 needs to multiply to the negative 4m, and the 5 needs to multiply by the 2. So a lot going on here. Let's see what we get, and we will combine like terms at the end. The red arc will give me 6m to the third. Multiply the coefficients, 2 times 3. Add the exponents. M times m squared makes m to the third. Let's go to the green arc next. We have 2m times negative 4m is going to be negative 8m squared. The blue arc, 2m times positive 2 is positive 4m. Purple, 5 positive times 3m squared will be 15m squared. The constant 5 times negative 4m will be negative 20m. And then finally, 5 times 2 at the end here in orange will give us positive 10. Now, seeking like terms, I don't see anything that's going to match up with 6m cubed. It's going to be by itself. It looks like green and purple can combine to make positive 7m squared. Looks like the blue and gold there can combine to make negative 16m. And then the orange 10 is on its own. So that's what we get when we multiply those two polynomials. Okay, there were 2 polynomials, a binomial times a trinomial. And notice right there, when you do 2 terms times 3, you originally end up with 6. Think about multiplying 2 things by 3 things, giving you 6 in the product. Once you combine like terms, however, it gets a little bit smaller. Now, in the next one, part B, I think what we should do is chunk this and just do this part first. So we're going to FOIL this and bring mn plus 4 along for the ride later. Okay, so I'm just moving this down, and I'm going to go ahead and FOIL here. That should be m squared n squared. Here, that should be negative 2mn. Inside, positive 1mn. And last, negative 2. That's what we get when we just multiply these 2 binomials. Let's clean that up before we move on. Let's make that m squared n squared. Combine these guys by adding, let's see, we would end up with negative 1mn. And then finally the negative 2. Now we can bring mn plus 4 into play as we, again, multiply a trinomial times a binomial. We're going to have lots of products here to consider. First, green, m cubed, n cubed. Black, whoops, sorry about that. Black should be m squared n squared times 4, which would be 4m squared n squared. Next, let's do blue. Negative 1mn times an mn. That's going to be negative 1m squared n squared. Anytime 2 variables multiply, you're going to have the exponent increase. The 1 and the 1 goes up to 2. The 1 and the 1 goes up to 2. Okay? Where was I? Back up here. Negative 1mn times 4. You can see this gets messy. You have to try to stay organized. Negative 4mn. Basically, as you're looking at the first grouping, you should make sure that each term has two different arcs going out from it. So that -2 needs to be multiplied by the mn, that's the red arc, and the -2 needs to be multiplied by the 4 to give you -8. Lots of stuff there. Cleanup time. There are no like terms with m cubed n cubed, so just write it down. There are like terms, 4m squared n squared minus 1 m squared n squared. That's going to make 3m squared n squared. Like terms here, -6 m n, and then there's the -8 on the end. So everything's cleaned up. There's no more combining we can do. That is how we multiply polynomial expressions.